so I'm a used car dealer, and all these cars behind me are going to be auctioned off today. I'm at a used car dealer auction. And a lot of you have asked for me to bring along a special subscriber with me to an auction. So today we're doing that. We've actually got Zach.
Special, man? You want special?
So special. So special. I don't know if you know who this is, but this is Zach from Car Edge. Great guy. He actually came down to see what a car auction looks like, hang out for a little bit. What would you like to say?
The popcorn smells really good at the auction. It is exactly what you would think a car auction is like. And yes, Brandon is a real car dealer. And no, I will not tell you where his dealership is.
And we're in the rain, so this is what we get to deal with at car auctions, and now Zach gets to experience that with me today.
We gonna buy a car?
We got Alex here too, so you got the whole crew, and hopefully Alex is gonna buy some cars. I'm not going to, because I'm going to be holding the camera. So here we go. All right, and there he is, the man, the myth, the legend. We have Alex here. What you looking at other than this ugly, ugly Buick that no one wants to buy?
It's dirty.
Sounds like us.
Price be cheaper.
All right, so we're here at the auction, and what I'm showing Zach is all of these cars. We can actually see the sellers. Tilt it just a little bit. We can see all of these sellers and who we're actually buying these cars from. So a lot of these are independent dealers. A lot of these are franchise dealers. We would rather buy from franchise dealers because we know that they're just trade-ins.
Yeah.
So
when we were walking around earlier, so let's be honest with everyone, you've taken me to 2 auctions, all right? So I've seen both ends of the spectrum here. I was blown away, man. I mean, like, you can literally walk up to a car, and if you want to know a car was a repo car, it's not that hard to figure it out. It kind of says it came from Wells Fargo or it came from Santander. Like, that's good information to know.
Right, so something that we went to earlier, we went to actually a Carvana auction, an Odessa auction, and we're able to see all these bank cars. Now, I can't film at that auction, but we were able to see lots of Wells Fargo cars. We saw, I mean, all those bank cars, and they're all repos. They're not going to be anything other than repos if they're coming from the bank. And we saw tons of them, way more than we've been seeing. So we know that repos are up, defaults are up, and that's something that you guys have been talking about a lot anyway.
I mean, we say the same stuff just in different ways, but we know it's raining and everything, but like, it's incredible to be here, and like, there's hundreds if not thousands of cars, and like, this is what you do weekly to find, as my dad would say, the cream of the crop or the cream of the crap. You got to find the good ones here. Like, I'm watching Alex run around turning cars on. The keys are just in the cars, folks. Like, I did not know that. You showed me that. The keys are just in the cars. If you steal a car at an auction, then
don't steal any cars.
Don't do it.
But one thing that's interesting that I pointed out to him is that dealers are shady. So at this other auction that we went to, what we've experienced sometimes is that dealers that want a particular car, if they don't want some other dealer to check it out, they will actually take the key out of the car, and the key won't magically appear back into the car until after the auction is done. Yeah. So the car can't run through, it just gets put on the screen. So other dealers will think that the car cannot actually move. And we see that a lot. We see spark plug, coil packs being pulled. Yeah.
All the things you think happen at the dealership, because we all go buy cars, we know what they happen at the auctions too. And I was watching it and I'm thinking to myself, holy cow, no wonder this is how it works. And the other thing that was really neat, there's people in the lanes. Lots of people bidding online too. And you were telling me that you can see who wins. You can see if it was a rental car company, You can see if it was a franchise dealer, you can see if it was an independent dealer. Like, you're subscribed to the right channel if you're subscribed to Car Questions Answered. It's good info, man. Like, you're right here. You're getting the pulse and you're sharing it. I appreciate that.
This feels like an episode of Car Edge, and we want to lean away from that. So let's go look at some actual cars. All right, it is raining so hard. So, like I've said earlier, if you want to see more videos of car dealers suffering, you should probably subscribe, because I'm going to show you way more of this. I am soaking wet. Zach's wet, and we're just walking around doing a video for you.
We got to make money for the dealership.
We have to make money for the dealership. So Alex is wet, everybody's wet. So we made an executive decision. It's raining too hard. Alex can just float.
Use the word. He's gonna actually do the work. You and I are gonna eat, and it is what it is. Boss man.
Now 2, 19, now 2, now 1, 21, 2, 21 out with her, 21, gotta be 2, 22, 3, 23 now, 25, 25, now 6, 26, 7, 26, 19, 28,
That's insane. So you can miss a car just like that.
519,500, 164 miles, 19,519, 19 grand, 19.
So me and Zach actually went to 2 auctions today. You saw the smaller one that we usually go to, that you usually see on my channel every week. But this morning, I actually took him to a much larger auction just to show him how things are going. It's an Odessa auction. They're owned by Carvana. So it's an auction that I haven't been to in a long time, and it's because the quality of cars there has gone way down. And the reason why the quality has gone down is there's 2 reasons. So after Carvana bought Odessa out, a lot of the franchise dealers actually pulled out. So Carvana is in direct competition with all of these franchise dealers, the Ford dealers, the GM dealers, Honda dealers, Toyota dealers, what have you, all of these brands. And they see Carvana as directly infringing on their business, the way that they've operated for years and years and years and years. So whenever Carvana bought Odessa, a lot of the franchise dealers actually pulled their cars and went to different auctions. So these franchise dealers did not want to give Carvana any more money from their buyer fees, from their seller fees, whatever, so they just pulled their cars. That means that trade-ins that would normally go to this auction, I'm not seeing them anymore. So that's one big reason why the quality's down, because trade-ins are the better cars that car dealers can buy from these franchise dealers. And if they're not there, then that's one big piece of volume that these auctions typically get from these franchise dealers. And reason 2 is because back in the fall, wholesale prices started to go down. And even though the franchise dealers pulled out of this Odessa auction, I would still go and be able to buy some cars, because there are these websites out there that will say, okay, any condition, we'll buy your car. And they'll pay under wholesale price for these vehicles, and then they'll send them to auction. And this Odessa auction was one of the auctions that a lot of these types of companies sent these cars. And those were the type of cars that I was able to buy. So as the wholesale prices went down, though, people were not able to get very much money from these types of businesses, so it made no sense for them to sell them their cars anymore. What was happening when the prices were crazy, these companies were able to just really pay crazy prices to these individuals to get these cars. So even if an individual had a decent car, they would sell it and get a good price for it, send it to a wholesale auction, and then I would be able to buy a decent car for a wholesale price. But now, because they're not able to offer these customers hardly any amount of money for these cars, all the good stuff, they're not selling it to them. So all of those cars went to just absolute poopy. So those were really my 2 ways of buying cars from this auction, and they're just gone. So I stopped going there. But I say all that just to get into this, to say that what I noticed since I've been absent from that auction for a couple months is now that a lot of big banks are dumping tons of repos at this auction. And it's something that I'm going to now start paying attention to. I'm going to look at the run list to actually count to see how many repos are coming through. But these aren't just regional banks that are sending cars to this auction. These are big banks, and we can see who is selling these vehicles. And me and Zach just saw rows and rows and rows of cars being dumped by these major financial institutions. And those are going to be repos. There's no reason for a bank to have a car and dump it at auction other than it being a repo. So that's what me and Zach saw while we were there. We saw just tons and tons of repos. And it's not rare for there to be a lot of repos at a particular auction, especially this Odessa auction, because that's where a lot of these bank repos go. It's just the sheer amount of them. And compared to what I've seen just a couple months ago, it feels like it has exploded. So tons and tons of big bank repos is not good for the system. We're already seeing a lot of these banks start to cut off a lot of the lending that they're wanting to do through the automotive sector, just because they know what's coming. They know that there's a lot more repos on the horizon. And I've never been one to say that there's going to be an explosion of repos and that's going to crash the market or whatever. But it is going to help prices come down a little bit. And really, I was surprised by the amount of repos that they had, and it was way more than I've ever seen at that auction. And I just felt like I needed to talk about that right now, because the amount of repos versus what I've seen in months past was just crazy high. And we're probably going to see the repo rates just continue to go up because people paid way too much for these cars. They got into payments that they couldn't afford, and the cost of living is still way high. Fed's not coming down anytime soon, and a lot of these customers are underwater on their cars, and they know that they can't afford them, so a lot of them are probably just walking away from their cars, and that's why we're seeing a lot of these big banks starting to repo these cars and then dump them at auction. They have to get out of these cars. Because they didn't want to give their money from their buyer fees, the sell fees, just to add more fire onto, add more gas onto Carvana's fire, to be able to allow them to compete more with these I'm not saying this very well at all. So these franchise dealers, when Carvana, I got to think to where I even left off and started rambling and sounding like an idiot.